for the final screening of the Tremors Film Fest at Violet Crown, Tremors 7, Shrieker Island. This was an interesting piece. Our first day of shooting was November 11th, 2019. And for about 4 to 6 months before that, I decided to grow a beard for old Bert. We'd never seen him quite like this. For months I grew this beard because we wanted him to have left civilization forever. He's left perfection, Nevada. He wants nothing to do with any other human beings, which has always been his tendency, let's face it. And so he's gone to the South Sea island, Papua New Guinea in this case. So he's let himself go, as if not quite as shipshape and as he usually was. His hair's grown, his beard's grown. I decided to grow my own beard. Why? Because we figured the combination of the humidity and the action adventure in Thailand, where we were shooting, would just be crazy to have a fake beard. So we decided it would just be more a nuisance. So I grew my own beard, and my dear wife was very patient with me, looking at me every day at the breakfast table, looking like Robinson Crusoe. We were trying to think of some challenge for Bert aside from the monsters. We started talking. We said, look, since the loss of his first wife, Heather, he had never had a woman. Everybody else was flirtation. Some people got the women. Bert was always the outlier. And as intimacy, real human intimacy, was perhaps his greatest challenge, we said, what would happen if we brought in some sort of flirtation, a promise of a relationship extending beyond the end of the film, would be interesting. So we said, not that this was going to be a great romantic comedy by any means, but what are the possibilities of Bert meeting a woman to whom he's attracted, or he knows, with whom something might be possible? Then we discussed what kind of woman. Do we want, the gunslinger, the tough woman who knows her guns and all that sort of thing, real survivalist stuff. And we decided the most interesting stuff was probably an opposite. Bert certainly needs, to get through life, probably needs something very different than himself, because he can't even live with himself half the time. So we wanted to bring in some levity, a woman who was very different. And this was, we brought in an actress, a wonderful actress named Caroline Langrish from England, and a wonderful villain in this case, Richard Brake, who some of you may know from Game of Thrones. Caroline Langrish, as it turns out, turned out to be the mother of Jamie. Another big change here. Jamie is not in this film. What happened? For whatever reason, I don't know the full story because I hate gossip. He and Universal were unable to come to terms. So once again, Michael Gross is here, the last man standing in this Tremors franchise. And I will say, somebody say, how did you become the star? And I kept saying, I kept coming back. Everybody else dropped out. It's as simple as that. I always saw Bert as an ancillary character, a supporting role. I never figured him for the lead role, but everybody else, Kevin Bacon dropped out, Fred Ward dropped out, other people dropped out. Jamie was no longer a part of it. I stayed. Why? Bert Gummer kept drawing me back in because I loved this character. So, once again, he has left perfection, totally this time I said, out of pure paranoia. In this case, we wanted to think of a reason he would leave town that was completely illogical, only to someone who was as paranoid as Bert. And we finally settled on the fact that the state of Nevada had come to him and wanted him to hook up a sewer. And that if the government, and so Bert had decided if if I put in a sewer, the government will have access to my solid waste, and therefore my DNA. He leaves perfection because he can't stand the idea of the government having his DNA. So he's out of there, he's in nowhere, and that's where our new young leading man, John Hader, finds him. John, of course, you may remember from Napoleon Dynamite, because Jamie was out, John was in. Once again, as I say, I'm the last man standing. The fun part of this, as usual, is they expect one type of monster and they find another. This particular graboid lives in water, can be underwater. So again, they're expecting one thing, they get another. Probably some of you, many of you are interested in why Bert dies at the end. Well, in fact, let me tell you, we never see a body. All we know is that Bert appears to die. It was suggested to me in the course of the final drafts of this film before we shot. What would we think if we shot it two different ways? Bert surviving and Bert possibly being killed. I thought about it for a while, and I didn't have to think about it too long. This was our 7th Tremors film, and I thought to myself, 7's a lucky number, maybe it's a good place to stop. Ultimately, we shot it one way, with Bert appearing to go over a cliff, or eaten and going over a cliff with a graboid. But shot it with some ambiguity. So that, yes, in fact, there would be room for a sequel, an 8th Tremors. But frankly, let me say to all the fans who have asked me this so many times, I doubt that there will be an 8th. One of the reasons I was very happy to say, I'm okay with Bert never, not making it, or possibly not making it, is increasingly during 5, 6, and 7, Universal NBC was asking us to constantly doing more with less. Budgets were being cut, and yet shooting schedules were being truncated, made shorter. And I began to think they weren't as interested in making an 8th anyway. So I was not unhappy with saying, maybe this is goodbye. Now, if somebody wants to come along and make an 8th, I doubt it will be Universal NBC. I would love to do that, and I've already have a great idea for 8. It's bringing back a lot of the original cast, and in fact, I did have a conversation with Kevin Bacon about a year or so ago. Said, if you brought this intact with the original people involved, I would do it. So we'll see. That may never happen, but we've talked about this. In any case, whether this is an 8th or not, I hope you've enjoyed this festival. I hope you enjoyed this closing screening of Tremors 7, and I will say it's been a pleasure being Bert Gummer for all of you for over 30 years, and thank you so much.